Billy, if you don't mind, Mr. Hayes, since we are all new to you and haven't gotten the pleasure of actually meeting you, would you do us a favor and just kind of give us a little bit of insight into your background?
Okay. Best way to start is with HAARP, HAARP, which was Gerald Bull's supergun back in the 50s. My dad and I worked with it. We then, I was just a kid back then, but I could fit down inside the barrel and clean the barrel for Gerald. So I became part of that system there.
Okay.
During the last firing of the big gun in the United States, which was 1963, just happened to be the same date that the Anchorage, Alaska system went into their huge earthquake. Okay. And what they were doing, they were firing an atomic bomb into the upper atmosphere to ring the magnetosphere in a project called Project Starfish.
Okay.
And my dad headed up all the electronics and all the communications back in those days. He was assigned to Eglin Air Force Base, which is where I grew up, and I got into trouble while my dad was at Cape Lisburne, Alaska, and I wanted to... I hear.
I got you. Yep, we hear you.
Hello, hello, hello.
We hear you.
Okay, I don't know where you lost me at. But anyway, so I became part of a program with through the use of a school there, Mariana, a school for boys, a delinquent boys home.
Okay.
I ran away a couple times while my dad was on remote touring, and I got in trouble, and they didn't want to put up with me. They put me in Mariana Home for Boys, which now is called the White House Boys.
Okay.
And it was a clearinghouse for profiling young men for MK Ultra.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And at the age of 12, I became free again from that system by a man called Orris B. Kinney, the principal at the school of Niceville. Mm-hmm. And he and the base commander of the Air Force Base and what they call those? Not a preacher, they call him chaplain.
Right.
Chaplain
Okay.
Baker. Chaplain Baker got me released from the Mariana School for Boys, and they proceeded filing charges against that system. Meanwhile, I became part of a system under MK Ultra and started going through training and was reassigned back to Eglin as a 12-year-old to work on as a cleaner for vitriol at Eglin Air Force Base.
Okay. What's vitriol?
It is a part of a three-lettered component of the government.
Ah, okay. Well, I want to back up here for just a second, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for all the technical issues that we've been having. We do have Elana Freeland. I'm not going to mess that up again. Her name is Elana. I can get this correct, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's just back up for just a second. Okay. Elana Freeland is an author. She came, out of the political age kind of during the COINTELPRO. She's done a lot of research into a lot of the, underground, economy on the underground, banking system, the underground government, as you will. And she actually wrote a different book that, has got a lot of reviews, I can't think of the name of it, of course, right now, as we're all nervous here.
You mean the Sub Rosa America?
The Sub Rosa, yeah. And that's a 5-volume book, that you've written?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say it is. It's actually a fictional representation of what's happened to America since the seminal Kennedy assassination in Dallas. Okay. And I actually just finished the 5th book the other day, and I'm so proud of that work. And I did it fictionally because I needed a big picture.
Right. So it's essentially like a look back from the year 2019, as I understand. The reviews on Amazon are out of sight. I mean,
I needed a lot of room to tell all the levels.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And so it may seem strange that when Adam Parfrey from Feral House asked me to write, if I thought I could write a book on chemtrails, I had done some work for him before of editing. I thought, I've got this whole file on military and chemtrails and HAARP, and I thought, shoot, yeah, I've got a master's in historiography. I can do this.
Right.
And then I had a biology background in undergrad. So I felt really confident of my research skills and my ability to penetrate this science with just a good mind and a lot of attention and a lot of work. And then after I was on Coast to Coast, after the book came out, Billy contacted me, and we've been fast friends ever since.
Oh, nice. And now, of course, we're talking about the most recent book that you've got, which is Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. And this is not a fictional book. I read this thing, and it is so well researched. The footnotes, the bibliography in it, the glossy photos that are in the center. I mean, this is one heck of an education for people who want to go to that next step. A lot of people out there, we've had Dane Wigington on, there's really not a lot of speculation about whether or not these programs of geoengineering are taking place. But you really nail them down as far as they're being militarized. And that to me is what everybody wants to know why. We can obviously see they're spraying stuff in the clouds, but why are they doing it? And why the HAARP and why are the other specific aspects of this stuff? And your book has done just a fantastic job of outlining for us really the totality of the geoengineering program as a weaponized system against the population of Earth,
Yes, and I think that's the important part. I mean, there are really 7 agendas, and only one of them, is weather. And people are really stuck on the weather because, of course, it's every day in our face that something weird is going on. And some people are even looking up and looking at the artificial clouds that they don't quite know are artificial and don't know the science or how this can possibly be done on a global scale. It's just something that the average American or anywhere in the world, the average citizen they don't have their head in the clouds that way where they can really see the big picture. And that's what the book.
Well, can we talk a little bit about what some of the other agendas are, since we're talking about it
to do is to present the big picture up to now.
Right.
Oh yeah. I've got them right here. Okay, so there's weather environmental modification for warfare purposes. When you think warfare, don't just think the fields of France in World War II. This is a whole new warfare. This is a revolution in military affairs, what is called asymmetric warfare. It's not a direct warfare. It's oblique. It's covert. And it's electromagnetic. This is the crucial thing to understand for the warfare that is now being conducted as I speak. And it also has political and economic warfare added to it, which add to the asymmetry. And that would include muscling other nations like Iran, threatening them with drought, threatening that all the clouds that are coming their way will be whisked away, as they have been with California in the last 3 years, to some other region. It also includes economic warfare in the sense that weather derivatives are now very lucrative because the insider trading market knows when this technology is going to be used in various areas because all of the elites hang together, and that includes Monsanto, corporations like Monsanto, Raytheon, all the military industrial corporations. Okay, that's one. That's only one. Weather. And then now onto electromagnetic operations. There's a lot of experimentation going on through what HAARP did was draw the charged particles from the upper atmosphere into our lower atmosphere and using barium and aluminum, strontium, etc., all these conductive heavy metals to be able to conduct more in the lower atmosphere. And that conductivity has to do with communications, and I'll talk about that. Then there's the military operations. all the way from refueling low-orbiting platforms to space operations like what Billy and I are now looking at in a very serious manner is what's called the space fence technology that's being constructed, and it's replacing the old ground-based missile defense system. Then there's the fourth operation would be the biological chemical operations. Again, a lot of experimentation going on. We're all a petri dish down here. We're all guinea pigs. Biotechnical delivery of biowarfare components based on nanotechnology. And this would go all the way to controlling human behavior through the endocrine system, through the blood system, the nervous system. Then there's the fifth operation, planetary geophysical, which means Earth changes, and big involved in this, along with all the fracking going on, which right. Billy knows a lot about, and the ionospheric heater like HAARP, its tomography capabilities to penetrate the Earth miles and miles, which set off earthquakes, sinkholes are collapsing, salt domes are collapsing, and that also has to do with what I think is happening to the ionosphere and the magnetosphere. They've been deeply impacted by all of these, not just the nuclear detonations going on up in the Van Allen belts, but also what's being done with HAARP, what was done with HAARP. The sixth is intelligence surveillance for the sake of C4, command, control, communications, and computers. And that it means communications for drones, all of the laptop boys running all sorts of unmanned aerial vehicles, virtual warfare, holographic things that will be happening in the skies, I'm sure, and of course the targeting of populations' brains for mind control. And finally, the seventh, most far out of all, is the detection and hiding of exotic propulsion systems. And very much this cloud cover could have varying purposes because the cloud cover is over. In the book, I only covered NATO countries. It's in all NATO countries. It seems to be part of joining NATO. But it is also in China, Russia, etc. Everyone's experimenting with this technology. So there are the 7 operations.
Wow. And I want to know then how it is that that Mr. Hayes' research or his experience complements your own. What is it that Billy is able to bring to the table?
Well, Billy has worked on over 250 of those tower systems that are essential to the construction of the space fence, but has, he's been doing it since the early 60s, and he has the praxis that I lack. I have not crawled up those towers. In fact, Billy's health is suffering because of all those years of doing that. I'm just an ace researcher, and I know a good story when I see it, and I know that humanity is at stake. And I think Billy and I both, we're not in this for the money. We're not in this for the fame. We're in it because this is extremely serious for all of humanity, for the generations coming. And we work well together. We seem to be in synchronicity together, our minds as well. So I'm really, really happy that he found me.
Well, I'm glad that both of you guys were able to join us today. I know his mic might be muted right now. I'm hoping I can get him back on the horn here for just a sec, because I'm wondering, given all that experience from the technical side of actually being somebody responsible for building these things, I wanted to know what kind of warnings were given to him going in, if they had meetings about the potential health risks to making a system like this, or if all of that was kind of kept under wraps. And I'm also curious if there's any kind of insight into the intention of it being built, if there were meetings beforehand saying we're building this because we want to accomplish this goal or something like that.
Well, Billy, let me just talk a minute about MKUltra. I don't think listeners may understand what it is to be subject to MKUltra. I mean, Billy really had very little choice in the life that he was led into, and it's important to understand that when you're dealing with defense contractors and 3-letter agencies of the U.S. government, you're not in an open procedure. You're in a need to know procedure, and MK Ultra is very compartmentalized itself. So, I mean, I just want to say that is so real, and Billy is suffering from that past. And I did 10 years of research on MK Ultra, so I'm very, very familiar with it. And I just wanted to put that in there. A lot of people don't even know the acronym MK Ultra, and that's a really crucial piece to understanding this clandestine, covert government that we have running things.
I agree. And just to let you guys know, anybody listening to the Red Pill Reports radio broadcast absolutely knows what MK Ultra is. We've had a lot of really fantastic discussions. We actually had a lady on the other day, Jamie Henshaw, who has written a book about all of the MK Ultra victims that we can see in pop culture right now. Katy Perry's summing the devil at the Grammys and things like that. So we do here also have a pretty solid background in the MK Ultra program, and it is unfortunate that it still seems to be carrying on today,
Yeah. Oh, it's graduated to remote control now. Okay, Billy, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No problem. You covered it perfectly. I'm having problems breathing, so I'm going to have to take a pause.
Oh, yeah. Take your time, Billy.
Yeah, we can.
One of the things that some listeners are interested in, JD, is how the weather systems can be moved. Did you want me to kind of run through just the procedure?
I would love to. A lot of people are speculating. We talk about Katrina and things like that and whether or not we can steer these storms. If you've got evidence to suggest that we are absolutely doing that, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's because I'm completely inundated by a lot of people writing me, and I'm reading a lot of things, and so it's sort of second nature now. But I'm going to read what I wrote on my book, what I used to say on my book tour in September. Especially when I hit California, which was really, really, as you know, you've had Dane on your show, they're really feeling the oppression of a drought. In fact, Dane has gone as far as to say that California is being eliminated. So here's what I said. So how does it work? High over our heads, military and commercial jets lay nano-sized light metal chaff that remains suspended while the heavier metals drop slowly through our atmosphere. By firing radio frequency into this chemically enhanced, statically charged curtain of chaff, a dense wall is created. Radio and radar masers and lasers aligned onshore, offshore, on ships and aircraft now lay a conductive wave guide for funneling the moisture coming off the South Pacific and steering it north beyond California so it can be folded into the jet stream over Vancouver Island, which will then dip and head east, taking California's moisture with it to the Midwest or the southern states, or, as occurred just before I hit California, a flood just outside Phoenix, Arizona, of all places. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it works between the chemtrails and what we're calling the HAARP technology. Billy, if he comes back on, will explain how HAARP is not really functional now. It's not the high-frequency active auroral research project up in Gakona, Alaska, that he constructed, by the way. It is now a worldwide system that includes lasers, masers, satellite, radio observatories, NexRads. It's all around us. Picture a grid in which, say you're going downtown in your town and it's all Wi-Fi. What you're passing through are invisible rays. They're waves. They have pulses in them. They have frequency in them, and you're oblivious to it. But slowly over time, chronic diseases begin to develop by living deeply mired in radio frequency and sometimes microwaves. So that's kind of what's being set up, is we're living in an electromagnetic grid now. And the chemtrails, I'm good friends with Clifford Carnicom, and I don't know if we're going to cover Morgellons today, but we might touch on it. That's one of the biological experiments. But Clifford really keyed me into the deleterious effects of living in this electromagnetic soup, and how it's such a perfect open field experiment for the military to run. And that would be mainly DARPA, and it would also include the EPA and the CDC. All of them see it as a perfect opportunity to experiment on a variety of things heading toward the future. Whereas all of us out here, we're just, we just want to live. And when Clifford was collecting the chemtrail precipitations and using the HEPA air filter to test what was in the air on a tiny, minute level, that was the time, I don't know if you remember, but I remember in the late 90s, from 95 to 2000, I guess they were experimenting with how much to drop, how much of a chemical load that people could handle, because the emergency rooms and clinics and hospitals were just inundated by people with what they call flu-like symptoms, but lacking the flu virus.
There's a bunch of respiratory infections, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and even now, like here where I live in the Pacific Northwest, when there's heavy chemming going on for 2 or so days, pretty soon you hear the coughing and people are just dropping like flies. So it is every area, because it's experimental and they're still learning, getting a learning curve, every area has a different chemical cocktail being dropped on it, and that would include the biologicals as well, though the Morgellons, which Clifford Carnicom has more accurately renamed the cross-domain bacteria, because it crosses all 3 domains of life on Earth. It's in us. It's a bloodborne pathogen. It's not a skin pathogen. It's something that we've all breathed in on a nanoscale. I know I have it because I've seen my saliva under the microscope. I've seen my blood. I've seen these cross-domain bacteria digging their heads into my erythrocytes and eating the iron, sucking the iron out of my blood cells. But I'm very functional. I'm fine. But I have for 45 years followed a specific diet called macrobiotics, and I very much am aware every day of balancing my acidity and my alkaline ratio so that I keep that alkaline, because these cross-domain bacteria, Clifford Carnicom has found, do not do well in an alkaline environment. They thrive on an acid environment. Oh. So that's just to let people know. I know people get freaked out when I say this, that, oh my gosh, we've all breathed it in. I think we have. I can't speak for China and Russia, and this Clifford, I think, has over 200 people now from around the world who have sent him samples. So this is from that sampling, that to assume that we have all breathed it in, given that the primary, not the only, but the primary delivery system has been through the chemtrails. It could also be, I read a book by a woman who said that she thought she contracted Morgellons from her well, and that would make sense. Of course, then there's the GMOs. What has been genetically added to those GMOs? Very possibly something to do with this cross-domain bacteria. I don't know, but it's very experimental for us too, right? We're being experimented on, but we're conscious beings, and now we're beginning to look at what is going on, and we're gathering our information together. We're on the internet. We're sharing stories. I mean, it's a very unorganized sort of learning and experimentation, but we have to do it because this is the era we're living in.
Right. Well, Elana and Billy, we are going to have to take a quick 3-minute break, so we are going to go to some commercials. We'll be right back. I want to talk about this space fence thing. It is straight up 11:30 Central Time, and we are live right now. We're very excited to be joined by Elana Freeland and by Billy Hayes today. Both of these folks bring together both sides of the coin in terms of the overarching agenda of the geoengineering projects, as well as Billy bringing to the table the technical aspects and kind of the more, I guess we should say, scientific aspects of what's actually going on from a technical standpoint. And before the break, we had kind of started to broach the subject of this space fence issue. And Billy, you had sent me a little blurb in Skype talking about how the space fence is actually being used right now to control the typhoon. Is it Hagupit that they're saying is now being controlled by the space fence? Can you give us some information about the space fence, what it is, and how it's actually being used to control typhoons and potentially that largest storm that ever hit Alaska just a few weeks ago?
Okay, space fence is a surveillance system from the past. Before, it was just surveilling the outer space. As of June 18th this year, they took the space fence and HAARP down at the same time.
Okay.
And when a month later, they announced that Raytheon and Lockheed were being given contracts to rebuild the space fence at a cost of $1.5 billion.
Wow, okay.
And the new system is utilizing the HAARP technologies on a digital basis instead of using power itself, which is our protection from solar events, and also retains the ozone layer. It had damaged it so bad that they were taking it down in a sequester to bring on the space fence back into the parameters of HAARP. Now the space fence not only covers surveillance of the outer space, but surveillance of every movement on this Earth.
Wow. By
conjoining with every aspect of communications, of radar, of information digital information that's everywhere in the world. This is all digital communications.
Is it a completely global project at this point? I mean, is it just over North America or anything, or is it completely global at this point?
It's absolutely, totally global. Everywhere there is a military station or a radar system that uses digital components, it is it. This includes all the information that comes from smart meters. Now we'll go through space fence.
Oh my gosh.
All digital information. This is what Snowden was telling us without breaking his code of ethics.
Mm-hmm. Well, how are they using it then to steer weather? I mean, is all the weather on the planet essentially digital at this point?
By utilizing the components that are within the chemical atmosphere, the digital components that they are putting into the atmosphere, this becomes part of that system of command. Go ahead.
When Billy says digital, think microprocessors and sensors on a nano scale that have been released into the atmosphere, and I might add, are in our blood system.
Wow. So essentially then they've effectively put us on the radar of the space fence as well then, right? I mean,
absolutely. And all these the system that the space fence is now part of is part of the Patriot missile system, of the drone system. Everything that's utilized that is digitally enhanced is now part of the space fence.
Is this also why we see places like New York? You know, they just had an announcement last week that they were yanking out all the payphones and they're going to put in a municipal Wi-Fi service to essentially blanket all of Manhattan with Wi-Fi. We see Google trying to release, balloons that will project internet back down into places where there are no, internet connections right now. Is that why we see so many of these moves happening on the ground too, to try and expand that?
Absolutely. There's many new gadgets that they're pouring into space. In fact, just today, the launch of the Orion craft at Cape Canaveral is part of this system. If they're talking about sending this thing up 3,600 miles, and then they're going to come back and make re-entry. What they're not telling us is there's a payload that they're going to leave in space with this 3,600-mile trip out into outer space.
Right.
Then there's going to be recovery of a capsule, which is signifying the capsule that the returnees from Mars would be in.
Okay.
What they're not telling us is they're leaving this other big payload up there, which is part of the what's that system called? It's a new system that
the Starfire?
No, the RV-47 XB-47B.
Oh, right.
Oh, are you talking about NASA's secret plane that they've got tooling around now?
Yep. Well, this is the launch of another one. If you look at it, that's how they launched the last one. Was on the same type system.
Any idea what is going to be included in the payload that just went up today?
Absolutely not. That is so classified.
Right.
I mean, they have wrapped that thing up. They did a full year of keeping this aircraft up without any known fuel subsidies on it.
Right.
Which speaks for what the intent is.
Very interesting stuff.
But this new hurricane, by the way, is following all the same exact parameters of Hurricane Haiyan, the last super typhoon that did so much damage to the Philippines and almost went into Japan. And Japan is part of the system of this space fence. These new Superdorn sites are so committed to the pulsings that are being developed for this new space fence, and they're under the auspice of Virginia Tech.
Really?
Yep. And you know what's happened at Virginia Tech.
No, you have to fill me in.
Remember all the shootings?
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, there we go. All those shootings that were taking place were within 100 yards of the centralized component of Superdorn control.
And what Billy's getting at is that's the remote MK Ultra. That's what I call EMK Ultra. It's electronic now. It can be done remotely. And that shooter at Virginia Tech is very similar to the shooter that we had recently. And it seems that there's a connection between experimenting with building the space fence through systems like Superdorn and looking at how these shooters are being traumatized and taken over by the fact that our nervous system is plugged into this huge developing space fence and the Wi-Fi system that we're also attached to for our conveniences.
Right.
And then bring up this other thing. You asked about the Arctic vortex. If you remember, last year was the first time we ever heard of the Arctic vortex.
Yeah.
And now we got the super Arctic vortex that came through this year. And already they're filing that there's going to be another one come up very shortly. As soon as this movement of this typhoon starts getting into the aeration of the jet stream, that we will be seeing another one very shortly.
So why do we think that they are then promoting that polar vortex, coming down here? Is this to drive for more money? They're able to sell more heating fuel or something like that? Or what is this a warning from a different government that, is this some other country trying to hurt us? What do you guys think is going on with that?
Elana, you take that one. Now, that's too political for me.
Well, just keep in mind that all of this is still experimental. Moving weather systems, creating diversions for people to be concerned about, making money for energy, as you're saying, energy corporations. It's so lucrative. I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, I always refer people to Naomi Klein's book, The Shock Doctrine, wherein she lays out the coming disaster capitalism. We are at the point we're immersed in disaster capitalism now, and this system is perfect for it, to create disasters, to push the envelope, to make people afraid. All of this plays into the world politics that are going on. And when I say world politics, am I saying that our elite are somehow in cahoots with Russia and China? Well, yes, I think so. And I would say that they're more like sibling rivalry. It's how I view the entire Cold War now that I know so much more about it. The Cold War itself was a ruse, and it was a way to get money from people to stoke up the fear so that the military could build and create all these weapons that we're now beginning to see. I mean, the elite way of doing things is entirely different from how we common people who have morality or who struggle to keep a semblance of morality and law, entirely different from how we live. So it's important to understand that we're looking at experimentation going on. So this, the polar vortex, the super typhoons, the super this, the super that, cold fronts, heat, sizzling heat, all of this is an attempt to really document and experiment on a huge playing field. I mean, this is the largest. I really think this is the largest experiment that's ever been done in human history.
Wow. Well, and it seems to me, I don't know if you guys noticed during the Thanksgiving holiday that we just had. Here in Missouri, especially, I haven't seen a blue sky since I was a kid. This is one of the things that really stands out to me is that the hazy sky is always here in Missouri now. But on Thanksgiving Day, perfectly beautiful blue skies. So they apparently gave the sprayers the day off. But then the next day and the day after they were back, and it was just unbelievable. The amount of spraying that went down before this quote unquote polar vortex was coming down was again unbelievable. And I'm kind of left with the impression that they may have perfected their technique enough, because it seems to me like they have really ramped it up. Like it seems like, is that you guys are under that impression too then?
Malarkey. Show me. Let me put it this way. This year, Missouri, Kansas, we've had just this last month. In the same month, we had the lowest lows ever seen in Kansas. Mm-hmm. And then we turned around the next week, and we had the highest highs we've ever seen in Kansas.
That was beautiful, wasn't it?
And then we turned around, and we did it again.
Yeah.
And again. Mm-hmm. And in between, we had there was beautiful weather, and then we had things that just never existed before. Same thing goes for what's going on out in California. They've been under what they call it when it's no water, drought.
Mm-hmm. Drought.
Okay, for how many?
3 years.
3 years. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this system moves through, this Arctic vortex moves through, sucks up everything out of the Pacific, takes it and goes up through the north, goes through the Arctic and shuts down on the jet stream. And the end result is all the moisture gets sucked into lower California. And after 3 years, boom, now we got flooding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's instantaneous. You understand? It is no slow change in the climate. It is instantaneous.
And so if you think of that, instead of thinking of the Wizard of Oz behind his curtain pushing this button, okay, for lots of heat, and then now pushing this button for a huge drop, imagine that there is a natural weather system that has been so affected and is so primed and pumped and frequencied and pulsed that eventually there are times when the control is lost.
Right.
and the edge is no longer defined. And then that's why I say it's still experimental. Otherwise, I can imagine a day coming in 50 years if there isn't some sort of terrible cataclysm from having destroyed our ionosphere and wounded our magnetosphere. I can imagine a time when it will just be a matter of pushing the buttons, but not now.
Well, and I think that's important to understand too, because, and I'm glad that you guys brought that out. One of the things that I had spoken about with Dane when he was here is kind of a lot alike what you're talking about now, and that I get the impression that the entire global ecosystem, I imagine it kind of like a big rubber band, and that we've just been pulling it and pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, and it's all tight and primed right now. But what happens when we do lose control, when that rubber band snaps and the global, ecosystem says, wow, we're way off base here, we need to react, and because everything obviously is going to come back around in some way. I think that potentiality definitely exists, and I think that is probably what frightens me the most, is that these guys have this desire to have control, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with things that they really don't understand yet.
Billy, what do you think of that?
I think it's when they lose control, it's going to be burn, baby, burn.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think that's going to look like? Let's talk about what's the worst case scenario going forward. Say we don't get involved, and these idiots are allowed to just continue with their, with their agenda. Where are they going next? What's the worst case going to look like?
Well, first of all, you have to understand this is a bunch of nuts out there. Mm-hmm. They're out for nothing but the gain of power, gain of money, and the game of getting their name on the roster.
Okay.
They don't care about life. They're crazy. I mean, these are the mad scientists, the guys with their hair stuck up and look like they've been through a centrifuge that was electrified. These are the people that we have to worry about.
Right.
They call themselves protectors of the earth? No. These are the killers of Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to think of them as kind of a breakaway civilization. I mean, these guys we've known have got technology 35, 40 years in advance and have had that since at least the 1960s. So, when I try and qualify these guys, my thoughts always go to, are these people going to destroy the earth just for the sake of doing it, or are they trying to do it so they can actually, decrease the population and try and create some kind of perfect planet that they can live on, or are they just going off grid, or they're trying to get themselves set up so that they can actually leave the planet? I have a lot of trouble trying to figure out just how bad these guys actually are.
Well, just think of it this way. Look at the push to find another world that we can start a civilization on. Mm-hmm. The emphasis of trying to find, go to Mars and get there and find out if it's feasible to put mankind up there. Mm-hmm. There's a push to do this. There's a push to find other ways of life elsewhere. And who's behind that? The people, the nuts that are out there that are doing the crazy things on this earth, looking for a way out. Once they know they're going to goof up.
Yeah, and I would add that these elites, they do have a philosophy, I guess you'd call it, and it's empire. It's always about empire, and I go into that in the Sub Rosa America books, and of course you'd have to read The Last Scene to see how that ends up. But it always ends up badly for empire, as you know. I mean, any student of history knows that. It never works. But there is a huge thrust now. It isn't just playing in the sandbox. They have an agenda. They have an objective. And all of the money of the foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation going toward, paying for eugenics sorts of things and supporting the GMOs, and all of this is heading for a transhumanist future. And that's what I'm going to cover in the next book. With Billy's help, we're going to look at the space fence and what I call the lockdown of planet Earth, which will succeed if we're completely enclosed in an electromagnetic grid and envelope. That will cut us off from all sorts of cosmic influences that are beneficial to humanity and give us the proper, maybe help to keep the proper perspective on humanity, that we are not just machines, that we are not just something needing to be enhanced and changed, that we actually have a purpose. And I suppose that's what is most upsetting to me, is the earth is, for me, a spiritual being.
Yes.
It has tremendous life forces. I mean, you put a seed in the earth and boom, you have food.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And so the earth will take her own back. She always has. She will again. But for humanity, I think we're at a crossroads now. And if we continue to think of ourselves as machines, and we allow this transhumanist plugging in of our nervous system and remote control over our thoughts, over our cell nature, over our DNA, I don't know how that's going to turn out. So I guess I'd have to say that's why I'm fighting so hard, is I can see what the elites have in mind. They raise their children in terrible ways in order to hold the power that they will inherit. There is nothing I can say that is kind about their generations, their way of looking at bloodlines, their way of feeling that they are superior to all of humanity, their lack of serving those who are less fortunate, all of it. It is simply, for me, a spiritual war here. And I am completely involved in it, and I will continue to be completely involved in it because I do believe it is not hopeless. It isn't to say I have an easy solution for tomorrow or the next day.
Right.
This is us. And this time that I've been born into, and many others have been born into, is my battle. And I will fight to the best of my ability. And that intention itself bears fruit for the future. I know that.
Man, you are just saying so many fantastically wonderful things, Elana. I'm telling you, outlining this as a spiritual battle is so important. The idea that intention plays a role in this. I got to tell you, and I'm going to go way out into left field here real quick because of some of the things you just said, and just give you a little insight into my belief is that everybody is essentially eternal. Your consciousness is a frequency, and it exists forever. But I have always thought, wouldn't it be frightening if the powers that be figured out a way to keep your eternal spirit or your eternal frequency from leaving the planet? And you start talking about this space fence thing, and that's exactly what I picture, is that they have, if they could somehow electronically control your frequency, that is the thing that powers your consciousness, would they try and do something like that? I think that's kind of a given at this point. And B, could they be successful in something like that? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, just look at the movies that are coming out, the films that are programming us for the future. It's obvious that they believe that they know exactly how things should be run here, that we're returning to a corporate feudalism at this point. It's the 1%ers who really know the thing that should happen, and they want a large slave class. I think that some of the elites, however, go beyond that, the power and greed over human beings and having a slave class. I think what they're interested in is, what can we make as gods on the earth of the human being? Let's fiddle around a bit and see what we can do. And we have these glorious computers with amazing, astounding computing capability. And, there's a ghost in the machine. Can we somehow merge the human being with the ghost in the machine in this brain machine synthetic telepathy? Can we do something spectacular along those lines? Because after all, even if we kill a few or maim a few or they have bad lives, hey, human beings, the lower classes, can always pop out another kid or two. I mean, the attitude toward the lower classes, as they're called, is just astonishing. And that tells me that those people were raised with pain, with lack of love, There was no caring for them. And, I feel great compassion for them. However, I am very clear that we are on opposite sides
Right.
of a line drawn in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and frequency. They know that pulsing, and that was discovered in MK Ultra. You pulse a child at a certain ratio to their own natural Schumann's resonance, 7.83, and you are going to change the consciousness and the very nervous system of that child. So they're very aware of this, and this is a grand experiment to see what can be made of a transhumanist singularity future.
Do you feel like that will be like the Morgellons 2.0? Like the Morgellons was kind of like the initial effort and they're getting their recipe right and then they're going to release the next?
Oh, yes. Yes. The Morgellons has nano sensors and nano microprocessors in it. All the people who have the lesions know that because when they go toward their toaster oven, the fibers in their lesions poking their little heads out with blue, black, and red they go nuts. Oh. They love electromagnetism.
Wow.
So, to all Morgellon sufferers who are listening, I say, turn off your Wi-Fi router. Do not do Wi-Fi.
Well, unfortunately, guys, we are out of time today. This has been Elana Freeland and Billy Hayes today. Thank you guys very much for joining us on the Red Pill Reports radio broadcast today.
Bye.
Bye, guys. We'll see you guys later. I hope to have you guys back again. Just a reminder to everybody, Gary Milyevsky will be joining us on Monday. It is Friday. I hope all of you enjoy your weekend out there.